There's the audio. Sorry. They have changed the freaking settings on YouTube so much, and they leave monetization off by default every time. I don't understand it. Just as soon as I thought I understand how YouTube streaming works, they changed it again. Hi everyone. So yeah, sometimes last couple live streams they do not send out notifications that I'm live. And then in this one, I'm not live yet. I just go to settings and I'm changing the title of the stream, and it immediately sends out notifications. I'm like, come on, I wasn't ready yet, but I had suspected this, so I decided, you know what, we're just gonna start as soon as the stream sends out notifications. So YouTube's still broken when it comes to live content. So I'm just gonna send out the tweet, which I would have had ready for another random. Still debating whether or not in my head internally if I want this to just be the Taylor of Talks podcast and it'll just be like me talking to myself. But I don't know. Feels weird. Might as well just call it random Q&A because that's what this ends up being anyway. Cooper, hi, welcome. Zuhair Yasin says hi. Apple World says turtles are hot. Okay, good for you. How's life, Drew? Life is going pretty good. Life's doing decently. I'm trying to be fairly positive and grateful for the situation I'm in. I think it's easy to get complacent and take things for granted and just kind of assume everything's going to be a certain way. So, trying my best to just be like, hey, you know what? Life's pretty cool. Just accept that. I mean, we got a good life right after the inauguration. I don't watch the inauguration. I didn't watch it. I don't think I've ever watched it growing up. It's just never been that interesting to me. But is that over? Did that just end? How did it go? Hopefully everything didn't fall apart. That would be bad. So yeah, I guess in other news, the United States has a new president officially. That has taken place. Jay Pandya says this is the Talks podcast. The Chad is the guest. Yeah, that's probably a good way of looking at it. Welcome to the Talks podcast. You are the guest. You pronounce it Zuhair Yasin. I like how you say to pronounce it the way it's spelt. Biden is president peacefully. Okay, good transition of power. Glad it went okay. Don't want any, rioting or explosions or anything. As long as everybody's okay, that's ultimately what matters. As long as we're safe and there's a peaceful transition of power, I'm going for that. Went well. Nice speeches. Okay, Mike says there's nice speeches. That's good to hear. Rodolfo says I look nice with the beard. Stop lying. We all know this beard looks terrible. We all know it deep down. You're just like, it looks good, I guess. No, we're basically just trying to see how long we can put up with the comments, and then hopefully enough comments will convince the missus that it might be okay to shave. But she has to get up close and personal with this beard more than any of you. Y'all just have to look at it. There's Randy's response. You look terrible with the beard. Thanks for letting me know. This is the first time I've ever heard such a thing. Going to a goatee at some point? Well, that's what it used to be. It used to be just here. That's all really I've ever wanted. I just wanted a beard here because that's what my dad always had growing up, and that's just what I was comfortable with. I never really wanted these things. What are they called? Sideburns? I never really wanted these, but my wife likes them, so she wants them. So I'm like, okay, well, you're the one who has to kiss them, put up with them. Which iPhone design do you think is the most iconic? Probably the 10. But everything's just kind of been a reiteration since then. Will the iMac replace your current iMac Pro? Yeah, if they price it right, yeah. If the price is good. I'm still thinking a lot about it this year. I'm like, man, what if it comes out like in March? Because, at the beginning of the year, the amount we can contribute to our, what's it called, retirement accounts resets. So we maxed out our contributions last year, and now it's January, and we're like, okay, do we want to max out all of our retirement contributions, or we got to save up some money for tax season because that comes in April, and every single year we get the pricing wrong on our taxes because I pay quarterly, and it's really difficult to pay quarterly because your income tax is based on how much you make, and I never know how much I'm going to make in a year. It could be great. It could be a great year, but that usually ends up being bad for taxes because they're like, hey, you didn't pay enough. And it was like, well, I didn't know I was going to make that much. And it could also be terrible. It's like, well, I made a lot less than I thought, and I was trying to stay on top of the quarterly, so I didn't really get to take home that much money. So it's impossible to predict what my income is, and when that happens, taxes get really complicated. So yeah, I'm trying to figure out when this iMac is going to come out, because I'm convinced myself I'm ready. You know, the iMac Pro is coming up on 4 years. It's still working fine. You know, I can still stream with it. I can still edit videos on it, but the design is definitely looking a little dated. Ever since I tried the Apple Silicon MacBook Air, I was like, you know, this is like the real-time editing feedback was so much more smooth, and the export times weren't quite as fast, but I do certainly want to get to Apple Silicon because it's way better than Intel. And the iMac Pro design is so dated now. Like, we've had this same looking iMac for however many years, so I'm ready to move on from it. But yeah, if they come out with the new iMacs in March, it's going to be kind of difficult financially to swing that. So I'm hoping it's more like quadruple UDC, mostly because all of our spare income we just invest right away. So we actually have to plan a little bit. We're like, hold on, wait a minute, we got to hold on to some cash if we actually plan on buying something. Will you buy a Tesla if Biden adds back the $7,500 tax credit? That's not the reason, but so no, that wouldn't really change anything for us. The main reason we don't have a Tesla is because we wouldn't use one. So I would feel pretty bad dropping that kind of money on a Tesla, because it would basically sit in our garage for like weeks at a time, and it would barely get driven. So when you hardly drive at all, it's very difficult to justify a purchase like that. But I hope the tax credit comes back. I just hope companies don't use that as an excuse, because that's what happened in the EV space a lot. Is a lot of EVs companies will just be like, oh, well, it's actually this much with the federal tax credit. So they justify pricing their cars a bit higher, because they're like, well, with the tax credit, it's actually, you know, way cheaper than that. But then they get comfortable. Then the brands get comfortable yanking the prices back up. So I don't want them to do that. I want them to bring back the tax credit for Teslas, but don't increase the prices because of that. I hate it when they use that as an excuse. Yeah, we've got. I don't need to buy a cow when I'm getting the milk for free from Randy and Mike with their Teslas. So as soon as Mike gets the beta, we can do videos on that and whatever. But obviously, once we quarantine for 2 weeks, so. Are you getting the 13 when it doesn't have 120 hertz? Nope. I decided my next iPhone has to have 120 hertz, and I'm not budging on that. And that's not because 120 hertz is a game-changing, I need it so bad feature. It's because the 12 mini is awesome, and I love this phone. It's been running great for me. The one time I have run into issues with it was on a recent trip I took to Mike's place we visited, and we quarantined ourselves for a couple weeks before we went to make sure it was safe. And now we might be going back in a few weeks, but we're going to quarantine during that time to make sure for it. But when we were on our little trip, when we drove a little bit, which was fun because we hadn't driven basically since last November, we actually like took the car out on a road or whatever. And the 12 mini battery life when doing like GPS navigation and that kind of thing is not great. And most people probably have cars with chargers built into them and whatnot, but my car doesn't. So that is when the battery life becomes a concern. But every other day of the year, it's fine. Battery life gets me through the day, no problem. Let's see. So yeah, if there's no 120 hertz on the next iPhone, I won't get it to keep. I might get one to review, but I'll send it back and just keep this. This is great. I love the 12 mini, and it's a shame not that many people are buying it. I hope it picks up more traction throughout the year, because it's the most affordable of the new iPhones, and the form factor I think you get used to very quickly, and the performance on it is great, and I think it's very underrated. I think it's the most underrated iPhone in years by far. As much Raphael Menser as I would love to tell you about my religion, it usually does not end well on the internet when you start going into religious subjects. So we're not doing religious talks today, but if we're ever one-on-one in person after the pandemic, That's when I like opening up about that kind of thing, because normally when you're one-on-one in person and there's not a screen or a website between each other, people are a lot more respectful and a lot more understanding. Whereas on the internet, if you start going down more controversial subjects like politics or religion, people are a lot more brave and a lot more insulting to say whatever they think of that they wouldn't say directly to your face. But when they're behind the internet, there's a lot of security in this keyboard right here, right? Like there's a lot of things you can say to someone when you're not looking them directly in the face, and you have to put up with whatever the repercussions may be. And you can just be one of the crowd. You can be shouting something from the back. So that's why we don't go there. But I know you don't want to get political, but did you watch the inauguration? No, I didn't. But sound like it went okay. But no, I don't. I've never watched the inauguration of any president, just for the record. Just kind of doesn't sound interesting to me. But if something goes bad, I'll probably hear about it. Can we get B-roll about the M1 MacBook Air? I guess I didn't upload that, did I? There is some I didn't do much work on it because it's really just a MacBook Air. It doesn't look that much different, but I did have some B-roll when I reviewed the MacBook Air. So that, I guess you can use that. Feel free to use that. I know I didn't put it on the B-roll channel, but I don't mind it if you take just some of the B-roll from the MacBook Air review. I don't think I called it MacBook Air review. I think I called it, can the M1 MacBook Air replace my iMac Pro? That was basically the review, but that was the fundamental question I was answering throughout the whole video, so that's why I titled it. I did not keep the MacBook Air. I can't really get a laptop to fit in my workflow. I tried to, I stopped using the iMac Pro when the MacBook Air came in, and I just used that for a solid 2 weeks, I think, and I did all my live streams on it. I did all my video editing on it, and the processor was not the problem. Export times were a little bit slower, but for the most part, the real-time editing and everything did great. The main issue was just that it only had 2 ports, which when you're plugging in cam links and microphones and CFast card readers and SD card readers and all this stuff, and you got to charge the thing, it was a big bottleneck of my production to do everything on a laptop, especially when the USB-C ports are on the same side. It would almost be a lot easier if they were on either side. If you had USB-C on both sides, that would be so much more helpful, but it didn't. So iMac Pro is just a bit more convenient for now, but I definitely want to switch to Apple Silicon when possible. Can we get B-roll of you doing B-roll? Yeah, why not? Can we get B-roll of you filming the I Love Louise videos? That might be interesting. I don't know. Louise likes to look or sound a certain way when she knows she's being recorded, so she probably wouldn't like all of that inner... It likely would not be genuine if she knew she was being recorded as we were filming the whole thing. But we are writing the script today, so I guess stay tuned for that. Let's see. Can you do a MacBook Pro M1 B-roll? I cannot. I don't have a MacBook Pro M1, and I don't plan on getting one. I think the next MacBook Pro redesign should have 6 USB-C ports and 3 on each side. I would not be against that. I've always felt like I could use more USB-C ports if available. When are we getting B-roll of the iPhone 5C? Probably never, but I do have one, for the record. I just intentionally plan on not doing B-roll on it because you asked for it. Battery life means a lot for me, as well as size. If it doesn't last me how my iPhone XR does, I won't get it. Yeah, I think that's probably the main thing scaring people away from the 12 mini. Battery life is definitely not amazing, but it gets me through the day just fine. I for 99% of use cases, I think it's fine, but those certain days where you're far away from a charger for extended periods of time, yeah, I think the small phone thing has just kind of died off. People don't want them anymore. Joseph M says, so you think EV is more interesting than tech? Yeah, I think so. I think it's probably less relatable because, the reason smartphone videos are so interesting is because so many people buy smartphones. It's such a wide, huge market, and people are buying new phones. Some of us are buying new phones every year. Some people are buying 2 new phones a year, and there's so many phones coming out all the time between Androids, and there's always so much rumors and exciting things going on with iPhones. But I feel like they're all running out of things to get excited for. Like iPhones, in my opinion, have already kind of peaked. Not to say they can't get better. I'm sure they can, but the most interesting, most noticeable changes have already happened. I don't think removing the notch or anything is going to make a big difference, or even foldables really. But EVs, I think, are kind of the next big radical up and coming era of tech, and they're not as relatable right now because most people are not buying new cars every year. In fact, most people buy one car, like 1 to 2 cars a decade. It's probably the average for everyday consumers. So it's a bit less relatable than tech, which is why it makes sense as to why the EV videos aren't really as big on the internet as smartphone videos. But I think that will change in time as EVs get cheaper and autonomous driving gets closer and closer. Um, EVs are tech, but I mean, there's a lot of subjects outside of smartphones and tablets that are technically tech, but wouldn't really be interesting to the same demographic. Like if you do a channel that's primarily talking about iPads and iPhones and AirPods, and then you start reviewing DSLR cameras and start talking about lenses and that kind of thing, viewership goes way down and the audience is way less engaged because that's not what they're used to and it probably doesn't relate to them. Whereas it's still tech. A camera is technology. A stove is technology. But if I started uploading reviews of my stove to the tech channel, probably probably wouldn't be very engaged. So yeah, it's not not as simple as just like, well, they're both tech, so put them on one channel. Like there's a reason we separated it because we discovered that the audiences are very different. The people that watch electric vehicle content are typically very different from people watching iPhone and AirPod content. And if you want both, just subscribe to both. It's that easy. EV's way more interesting, says Randy. It's so new, it's just not as popular because not everyone can buy one. Yeah, it's a much more expensive big time purchase, like I think average car ownership in the US is 8 years. So something you buy once every 8 years is a lot less popular than something people buy once. When there's a new phone coming out every year and it's going to have new features, multiple new phones coming out, then there's going to be a lot more to talk about. But I feel like there's an increasingly less and less amount of things to talk about with smartphones, as we're already experiencing. This year's iPhone sounds really boring, and the Androids that are coming out this year are already pretty stale. So I don't think that problem's going anywhere. I don't think we're in a rut. I think this is the new normal. I think that the future of smartphones is very stale, very similar to what we already have. And it's just going to be incremental changes year after year after year. It's just going to be like, oh, that's slightly better. That camera is slightly improved, that kind of thing. Sprig Fan says, would you buy an Aptera when the company reaches mass production goals? I'd be very tempted. I won't say like absolutely yes, because once again, very hard to justify me buying any vehicle because of our work situation. We just don't go anywhere. We will literally stay home for weeks at a time without leaving. We just buy up our groceries and then we hunker down in quarantine for weeks at a time. So there's not a whole lot of benefit to dropping big money. Same with Aiden Middleton asking, have you considered leasing a Tesla? No, because I don't want to lease a vehicle, because that's how you... First of all, you can't buy that vehicle once the lease is over, and it's a lot of money to drop on something that you don't get to keep. So basically 3 years go by and there's nothing to show for it other than just videos I guess you made. But if I wanted to make videos about a Tesla, I can just meet up with one of my friends. That's a lot cheaper, and it gives me a good excuse to hang out with them and also a good excuse to make content. But there's not really much content you would get out of leasing a Model 3, really. It would just be like, I got a Tesla, let me drive it around, I like to drive it. There's like a million people on YouTube already doing that. And bizarrely as it sounds, you would think EV channel needs an EV to make content. In reality, the EV channel has performed a lot better than a lot of channels with Teslas, simply because it sounds like videos about Tesla do better than a lot of videos with Teslas. My best performing video of all time out of tech, EV talks, anything, was my video about the Cybertruck. I did not go to the Cybertruck event. I did not have exclusive hands-on access with the Cybertruck. And yet that video got like over 1 million views. So that's just kind of one way of showcasing that what Tesla's doing as a company, or price cuts, or feature changes and that kind of thing. You don't need to own one to cover all that. In fact, the process of owning one, there's really not a whole lot of videos to make. There's only so many different ways you can say, I like it, it's good. Um, Here's an update I got. I don't like this part of the update. There's only so much you can do. So the idea of dropping, $400, $500 a month just so you could make a few extra videos doesn't really. If I buy an EV, I'll buy it outright. We don't do loans on anything but houses. Everything else we buy outright. We don't buy on credit, that kind of thing. Will Aptera go public at some point? I hope not. I don't want EVs to go. It feels like there's a lot of EV brands that want to go public as soon as possible and cash in on the EV bubble. But Aptera feels like a small enough company that they wouldn't really need to go public. But they're doing a lot of private funding, where basically like proven and reliable investors can invest in the company, but not like a publicly traded stock. They just exceeded like 4,000 orders. Okay, so they've unveiled their vehicle and started taking reservations a month ago, and they've hardly exceeded 5,000 vehicle reservations. So it's not like a huge brand. So that's probably why they don't see the need to go public. I think it's more of a let's talk to the right supply chains and start mass producing this vehicle question. It's not like a we need more money question. Maybe in a few years, hopefully not soon. Randy's waiting on Tailosive to go public. If money wasn't a problem, what EV would you get? If someone was just offering to buy me a free EV, it would probably be I would take a Cybertruck, but I don't know for sure if I would like it because I'm not a big fan of huge vehicles, and I know the Cybertruck's huge. So if I drove it and decided I didn't like it, I would rather have probably just a long range Model Y or something like that. Don't get a Tesla. That sucks. Just get a horse. It's so much better for the environment. Don't worry, Apple World. Mike has some horses, so I can just check out. I don't need to buy anything. I'll just hang out with someone else who has one. Do you think Tesla will become monopolistic? They could, yeah. I think there's a decent chance of that, especially if the 4680 cell, what's it called? If the 4680 cells get mass produced and the range benefits and cost benefits are realized in the next few years, that could quickly result in Tesla having kind of a unbeatable lead on everybody else. And if they're, there's a lot of cars in the car industry, so they probably wouldn't be close to a monopoly. But when it comes to having like the best range and the best prices on their vehicles and the best autonomous driving software, when it comes to autonomy, I think they probably have a much bigger chance of becoming a monopoly than just car sales, because there's a lot of people that will just never buy a Tesla because it's just not their style. They don't like the interior, or it just looks weird to them. It's all a personal preference thing. There's a lot of room in the automotive space for competitors. Let's see. Are you considering the 20? A lot of Tesla questions today. A lot of EV questions in general. I should have just gone live on EV. Rough Riders Show. Thank you for the super chat. Think SN9 will static fire today and land when it flies? Lab Padre said no. I've been watching it, but Lab Padre, I don't know if he's changed his answer, but I have been watching the stream for a while. Oh, no. Okay, never mind. I take that back. I just opened the stream. Apparently the pad is clear. So, yeah, looks like no launch today, but there could be a static fire. They replaced a few of the Raptor engines on the Starship prototype, so... Sorry, I just tuned in this morning and Lab Padre was in the chat saying there won't be a static fire today. So I was like, oh, okay. But now they're doing the countdown and everything. We're waiting on the ground vent. So I think it'll stick the landing. It sounds like SN8 was pretty close to sticking the landing, but it was just the header tank was a little too weak on the pressure. But now that they know that, and now that they've seemed to have fixed it, I think SN9 is most likely going to stick the landing. Probably. Did not watch the inauguration for the third time in a row. New EV video. I reviewed the new half Arabian horse. We'll have a Tailosive horse channel. That's what's next. We need a new astronomy video soon. Astronomy, isn't that the study of the stars? Is that different from space? Yeah, SN8 was very close to sticking it. It was just a little too weak on the landing burn. So I think SN9 will probably land it, which is cool. That'll be really cool to watch. I don't know why YouTube randomly mutes certain messages. Um, I don't watch any of the inaugurations. I wasn't like intentionally not watching it. I was editing a video at the time. Uh, let's see. What do you want? What do you want about Elon moving his entire operations to Texas? What do I want about that? I think Bob probably meant what do I think about that? Yeah, it's fine. Makes sense. Elon, they already got Boca Chica and Starship development in Texas, so wanting to make sure all of your companies and factories are close together so you don't have to waste so much time flying back and forth between states. Yeah, it makes sense. Corporate tax is a lot lower. Income tax is a lot lower. I'd be down for Talos of Astronomy. That's what we need, right? More channels. We don't have enough channels. Have you covered Tesla's energy business? Kinda. Not very closely. There's not a whole lot to say, really. I mean, they just increased the price on the power walls, which is not great news. But Tesla Solar is producing some of the cheapest solar panels in the country, but at the same time, they've had some pretty terrible customer service reviews. I was really close to getting solar panels. We were thinking about it because, we don't really use that much energy anyway. So I felt like it would have been really easy for us to basically push our power bill to nothing. And I like the idea of collecting the energy from the sun and using it for our house and whatnot, but I did pretty extensive reviews on I read pretty extensive reviews on Tesla Solar, and people had really nasty things to say about communication and responsiveness and how long it took for the solar panels to turn on. And some people were reporting that like they would put in the reservation on the website. It would take months to hear from anybody. 3 months go by. Then someone comes out and says, we can't do solar on your place. It doesn't qualify. And they wouldn't give them their money back. Or they would install the solar panels and not activate them for like 6 months. Seriously, like I'm not making this stuff up. There's like, and I'm not talking like a few isolated instances. This was like hundreds of people all with the same complaints. So it's most people were saying, yeah, it's the cheapest, but you get what you're paying for. You're getting like the worst possible customer service. So that kind of scared me away. And I was like, okay. And even on Tesla's website with the solar panels and stuff, they're like, what's your average electric bill? And I put in our average electric bill, and they're like, please put a number above $80. They were like, oh, this is too low. So if you have an electric bill under $80, basically they won't recommend you any solar package, which our average electric bill is between $50 and $70. So we would not be saving that much money in the first place. But I just figured, hey, like, I mean, 50 to 70 bucks a month, why not eliminate that if you can? And it's better for the environment, and it'll be easier on the grid. And on top of that, like, just being able to utilize and take advantage of a service Tesla offers sounds cool. And if it's going to be somewhat affordable and there's more reasonable solar tax credits right now than there will be in the future. So yeah, why not? Talos of Gardening, Drew's massive watermelon. What are your thoughts on the new AirPods Pro design rumors? I don't understand them. I saw some reports saying that there would be multiple sizes, but why do you need multiple sizes? What does one have more battery life than the other? Like, I don't get it. Rough Rider Show says, I really want to see you stream the SN9 flight live on the Talks, like on the Talks channel. It'll depend when it's happening, because like we do all kinds of things after work where we're relaxing or we're filming something else. And the thing about those launches that I talked about in my last vlog is that they're so unpredictable. They will go live and do the countdown for a Starship launch like 3 times before the actual one. So I don't want to do like 3 live streams of me reacting to it not go off. So it's kind of hard to plan my life around. But if it does happen, and SpaceX says that the SN9 launch is going to happen at a certain time, and I'm on my work time and I'm sitting here and I'm not in the middle of something, I will try to. I'll put it to you that way. But if I do, it'll be on the Space Channel. I'll do it on Talos of Space. I won't do it on Talks. I don't think it'll be very interesting to answer your question, but Talos of Home Improvement. Oh, God. I would prefer Touch ID on the power button instead of under the screen. Am I the only one and crazy to think that? You're not. I'm not going to say your name because that's crazy, but I think Touch ID on the power button would make more sense. Hey, John turns 22 today. Congratulations. Happy birthday, man. That's awesome. I also wanted to know where you are from, which state, city. I don't reveal my city anymore. I used to when I was younger, but then people started getting weird about it and started either showing up or saying they know where I am or they know my location. So I don't share my city, but I am in the California area. That's all I'll say. Somewhat close to the Bay Area. Not too close though. Not so close that it's expensive to live here. I would have to do sports for there to be Tailosive Sports. But I appreciate that on all my channels, everyone just tells me to make more channels. That's the running theme. What is your least favorite iPhone in your personal opinion? The 12 Pro. That was the first one I couldn't figure out an audience for. Tailosive Finance is on this channel. It's a mini series. We don't need a separate channel for that. But what finance questions do you have? I know someone was talking about stocks. I don't have a lot of great answers for what stocks you should invest in, other than just we're not experts or anything. I don't think there would be much point in a channel because I can barely think of videos for the finance tips series right now. And I'm just doing a mini series on talks. I think we've talked about it in previous live streams, but basically my answer is that most of the time we talk about finance, we end up talking about things that relate to me personally, which would go in line with the talks channel anyway. So might as well just keep those to talks, and it would take a long time for the finance channel. If we did start one, it would take a long time to make it monetizable, so it would be losing money. So first lesson of the finance channel: don't make a finance channel. Just make it a mini series on a channel that's already monetized. So that's what we're doing. I don't have any plan. I guess I have a big list of things. I kind of wanted to get back into vlogging because I felt like I hadn't been vlogging for a while. So I was like, you know what? I have a list of things, none of which are very interesting. That's why I haven't made them videos yet. Few questions like, I like how Shahood is saying only 50 watching, yet there was like 20 people watching in the last stream. This is not a new low, but thank you for spamming it over and over again. I appreciate that. I would much rather have streams with hundreds of people saying the same thing over and over again instead of having a more personal, intimate stream where I can actually keep up with the chat. Yeah, no, this sucks. I wish there were thousands of people watching. No, actually, if these streams had hundreds of people watching, they would probably be less interesting, and there would likely be a lot less engagement. So, yeah. Would you rather your question be drowned out, or would you rather just me be able to keep up? Anyway, finance tips. How much do you make off of 1 million views? I think we've talked about that before. I've had one video in all of my life hit 1 million views, and that video made around $5,000 to $6,000. I had another video idea which was about buying outright versus loans, but I think the reason I never made it was because of how incredibly simple it was. It's basically don't get loans on things that depreciate. So obviously you can do what you want. This is just my personal financial advice, but the only things you should really get loans on are things that are going to appreciate in value over time, which there's not a lot that do. So my basic answer for that whole video is it's okay to get a loan on a house because there will be interest paid on the mortgage, but the value of the property most likely is going to go up over time. So yeah, there will be interest that you end up paying on a 15-year mortgage or a 30-year mortgage. But the value of that property in 15 or 30 years is also going to be a lot more than what you bought it for. So anything that goes down in value means that you're losing the value in an asset. Like most cars go down in value over time, and if you're getting a loan on that, it means you're paying interest on something that is losing value, which is why I don't recommend getting a loan on a car. I know that there's reasons around it. You know, some people say, well, like, well, I need it now, or, you know, I need it at a certain time, or So I don't have all the money now, but I don't know. In my opinion, if you can't avoid a loan on a car, please do. Um, a few times I've wanted to do a video breaking down our monthly expenses, but they've changed so much over the years. So I've never been able to just sit down and be like, okay, here's our monthly budget. Like at the beginning of this year, I finally switched off of my parents' healthcare plan, which in the US, I think there's like a lot of people stay on their parents' healthcare until they're like 26 years old. So, um, in fact, I know a lot of people older than me, I think, that are still on their parents' healthcare. But I finally am able to switch to my wife's healthcare plan through her work. Um, so that changed, but that of course changed the monthly cost of it because, of course, we're in America. So, healthcare literally costs an arm and a leg. When you had a lot of money, the money makes you more money. Yeah, that's true, Aiden. There are good ways of getting money to work for you. Apparently, grass is venting. That's cool. Monthly expense video would be interesting. I could basically do it right now. How much time we got? 11, 12. We got time to kill. Screw it. We're doing it live. Do you think a touchscreen Mac is coming? No, I do not. Okay. Let me get Google Sheets out here. I want to see what our monthly expenses are. Let me just break them down as we speak. Thank God for split screen on the iPad Pro. Oh, you guys can see it. The best Apple product ever. I'm using it right now. Okay, taxes are by far the biggest one. Let me let me be super upfront on that. Okay, expenses. We've got variable and fixed. Where are the fixed ones? Oh my God. Louise keeps spreadsheets of everything. Hold on. These are all variable expenses. Where's the fixed ones? We keep track of literally every expense we make. There's not a single penny that goes in or out of our possession that we don't keep track of. And by penny, I mean like digitally. We almost never have cash. Where's the... Okay, this is income, investments, business expenses. That was funny to watch go down. We spent so much less. Oh, here it is. Got it. Budget goals. Okay, we've got goals that we're shooting for in 2021. Is this last year? This looks like last year. Okay. Are we ready? Drew's hiding his monthly expenses on an egregious amount of Apple Mercy. Oh, Apple merch. That's right. I'd wear my merch more than Apple merch, but California state tax is an outrageous 13%. You mean income? Sales tax isn't 13%. But yeah, taxes in California are pretty high, but I would also say Texas isn't as low as people think. I know there's a mass exodus right now of people saying, we're moving to Texas because there's no state income tax. But must I just add, property tax in Texas is way higher than California. Property tax in California is actually below the national average. Did you guys know that? Yeah, a lot of states don't have income tax, I know. But most of the time, not always, but most of the states that have no income tax have higher property taxes. I believe Florida property tax is also higher than California property tax. They have no state income tax. They're still federal, which is most of my taxes. So trust me, I went down the whole rabbit hole because I was reading all these people saying, I'm moving to Texas, I'm moving out of California. I did a lot of the math. Honestly, it wouldn't save us that much, to be frank with you. I mean, the main reason is because we bought our property so cheap, and California property tax is so cheap compared to the rest of the country. There won't be a Tailosov app. That's your update, Nico. It's not happening. Became too difficult. Sniz Diddy Gaming. I bet he's freaking out as I read it, and he's like, oh my God, he's going to read my message. He says, my poop is purple. Is that safe? Are you saying Thanos came out of you? No, that's not safe. Anyway, moving on. Budgetary questions. If you're sharing the iPad screen, I see nada. I'm not sharing the iPad screen. I'm just saying you can physically see the back of it. It's okay. There's probably a lot of numbers here I shouldn't read. Housing. That's the first one. $250 a month. Housing includes things like homeowners insurance, property taxes, and county taxes, all that kind of stuff. And that doesn't include utilities, though. But between all the property taxes and homeowners insurance, $250 a month. Food, this is out of date. Last year, our food goal was $250 a month for both me and Louise. That includes groceries and eating out and everything. This year, we're trying to keep it under $200. So far, we're good. You know, we're through January 20th, and we have not hit $200 yet. That even includes the money I sent to Mike for the chicken and what's it called? What else did we have? Chicken and fries. That was really delicious. But yeah, we have not exceeded $200 a month. And Louise is an amazing cook. She's been making all of my favorite meals to the point that I don't even feel like we need to go out to eat anymore because she can make all of the junk food I love and super healthy food as well. So food, we're trying to keep to $200 a month. Fuel, that has gone down a lot. Last year, our goal was $100 a month. This year, I think it's a lot lower. I think now we're looking at more like $50 or $75 a month on fuel. Occasionally it goes really high because we'll do a spontaneous road trip or something like that. But everyday driving, if we don't take a big road trip, or we can easily go several months. Let me see. Yeah, in the month of, where is it? Fuel. Yeah, in the month of May, we spent $0 on gas. We literally didn't go anywhere. Yeah, in October, we spent $42 on gas. So that was one tank. September, $83. So I think two tanks. April, we spent $50 on gas. June, we spent $70 on gas. So there's not a lot of money going on fuel. Wi-Fi is actually probably one of our highest expenses. This is something we had to increase the number of because Louise works online, so she uses quite a bit of internet, and I'm doing all this live streaming, and I'm doing a bunch of video uploading all the time, and I'm trying to post all this content. So we use over the 1 terabyte data cap that Comcast puts on the base plan. So to get the fastest possible internet Comcast has to offer, it normally would cost us around $110 a month, which is pretty high. But we were going over, so they were charging us overage fees. And the best way to avoid the overage fees is to get the unlimited plan, which costs an additional $30 a month, which means that our Wi-Fi bill is $142 a month. And yes, to give you guys some perspective, that's about twice our average electric bill. So I made a tweet about that, and everyone just freaked out that I called it Wi-Fi bill instead of internet bill. So that's obviously the only takeaway Twitter has, but in case we're breaking down the budget in today's stream, Wi-Fi is pretty expensive, and there's no alternative, by the way. There's literally no other company where we live that will provide us internet that's as good or much cheaper. And the only reason we're paying for the top tier plan is that's the fastest possible way to get 40 megabits up. It's not fiber. No, this is traditional coax cable. It's literally the cable for the internet to the house is right behind the camera that you guys are watching me on right now. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot, but there's really no other way around it. So if Starlink is able to provide around 40 megabits up, I don't care about download. Comcast gives us 1,000 down, but I don't need that much download. I really just need the best upload possible because that's what allows me to upload videos and live stream and stuff. So as long as Starlink could provide 40 up, I would gladly pay the equal price. Even if it was the same price, I would much rather send $140 a month to SpaceX than Comcast because Comcast sucks and SpaceX is trying to put people on Mars. So I'd say that's a much wiser company, even if it was like 50 megabits up and down for Starlink. I don't care if the download is significantly worse than what I'm getting now because we hardly utilize download. All we really use some people utilize download if you have like consoles and you download huge games, like Mike was already having to download the latest Spider-Man on his PS5. That was like a 130 gig game. I'm not like routinely downloading huge files. All I'm really using download for is like watching YouTube and watching streaming movies and stuff, which does not require a huge bandwidth. So yeah, internet wise, $142 a month I think is way too much, but sadly we have to get it. And since I use it for my business and Louise uses it for work, we get to count it as a write-off, but doesn't make too big a difference. It's not really that much in the grand scheme of things. PG&E, that's our electric and gas bill. About averaging around $75 a month last year, but that doesn't seem right because I remember getting quite a bit lower than that at different times of the year. Yeah. See, in April it was $55. In May, our electric bill was $23. In June, it was a little higher. Sometimes in the winter months, we use the heater more and it goes up. But yeah, the goal of $75 a month. Car insurance. This is something people forget about when they tell me to get a Tesla or to get an EV of some kind. A really, really difficult thing to justify when people say, well, if you got a Tesla or if you got an EV, you wouldn't have to pay for gas anymore. And that's what you're spending, the occasional $50 a month on. On average, it's around maybe $100 if you factor in the road trips. So you get to put that aside, and instead you can save a lot of money on charging. Well, guess what? We have some of the cheapest car insurance in America because we drive a potato. And our little Sonata is so cheap. It costs us $35 a month to insure it. And it's very basic. It's not like a premium insurance, but we're not like driving all the time, so we don't really care too much about the insurance. So $35 a month you are not going to find in anything that's an electric vehicle to insure it. So if you're driving a Tesla, you'd be lucky to get below $100 a month with insurance, and that's going through like Tesla insurance. If you're not going through Tesla insurance, it's most likely going to be a lot more than that. So you'd be lucky to get an EV under $100 a month with insurance, which means that what we pay in insurance would more than double if we were to switch to an EV, which there goes your gas savings, right? So the cost of ownership of an EV versus the car we're driving now is pretty neck and neck. If anything, the EV is probably going to cost more because most likely if you end up buying something like a Cybertruck or a Model Y, insurance is probably going to be more like $120 a month or more. So yeah, that's where the cost savings all get eaten up with your insurance. So that's our pretty super low pricing with car insurance. Here's something I've seen a lot of people not know about, but where I live, you can actually get you actually have a sewer bill. So we don't have a septic system, but we're on city sewer, which means that you have to pay the city every month to take away all of your crap. Literally, they charge you for all of your. I've always been curious what would happen if you stopped paying for it, though. We've paid the bill quarterly. It ends up being around $40 a month, but if we just decided not to pay that, I'm very, very curious what would happen. Do they just shut off your sewer bill? They shut off your sewer? What is it like? You try to flush the toilet and it all comes back or something? Like, I don't know how that works. But that's a sewer bill. Also, some people who don't own a house or may live in different places may not have seen this, but a garbage bill as well. So yeah, you got to pay someone to take away your trash, which is a thing here. Ours is around $24 a month. So that's actually a bit lower than it used to be. They have different tiers for our garbage service. So the more expensive one, I think, was like $36 a month. But we realized that we were producing such little garbage that we opted for the tiniest possible trash can they would give us. And actually, we don't even fill that up once a week. So I only have to take the garbage out probably once or twice a month because of how little garbage we create. It's just the two of us, and we're not throwing away that much stuff. And we have a compost in our backyard, so we, try not to throw away stuff that could be biodegradable and make good soil and be good for the earth and that kind of thing. So stuff that can make it into the ground and be good for the earth, we don't throw out. And yeah, so we don't have to take out the trash too much. That's not bad. Water bill, almost as long as we've lived here, has pretty much been within the same $20 to $24 a month. Yes. Yes, Sprig fan, there are tiers. There's 3. They include recycling for free on all the plans. So the recycling bin doesn't cost anything extra, but it's actually bigger than our garbage bin. So there's like the smallest trash bin. There's like a slightly bigger one that would be equal in size to the recycling bin. And then there's like a big one that looks more like a traditional yard waste bin, like the typical 96 gallon. But ours is, I think, half of that or something because we don't make too much trash. And Water bill is always between $20 and $24. It never really fluctuates very much. We don't really use that much water. I don't think we can lower it too much because it's like a line access fee basically. Like just to be on the water bill, they charge you a certain amount. So even if we use no water, not even a drip for a whole month, I'm pretty confident it would stay the same because there have been certain months where we were away or out of town for like weeks at a time and not using any water. You know, we don't have a sprinkler system or anything. We're not watering plants or that kind of thing. So we'd be gone for like over 2 weeks and come back and the water bill's the same. So I'm pretty sure that's like the line access fee. What else? iCloud storage, I finally got that downgraded. It used to be $10 a month. Now it's $2.99. Got rid of Apple Music, so we don't have that anymore. Over I pay for still. I considered canceling, but I use it for my video thumbnails so much. So for those who don't know, all of the video thumbnails across Talks, Tech, Eevee, they're all made with the same app called Over. It is a fantastic app I've been using for years. It lets you do all kinds of great photo editing, but at the same time, it's very user friendly. A lot of the time, Photoshop alternatives and that kind of thing are very complicated. Like Affinity Photo has a lot of options and customization features, but at the same time, it's fairly complex and the UI is fairly distorted and kind of hard to understand, whereas Over feels very approachable, feels very user-friendly, and at the same time you can do a lot of stuff with it. So Over has a pro subscription plan that allows you to do a few more things that you can't do with the free version of Over. Things like they have a Google search filter that if you search it, it will automatically bring you all the transparent PNG files, which may not sound like a big deal, but basically, you know how you want to add a picture to a thumbnail? You know, I want a picture of the Mac Pro. I want a picture of iMac or the picture of the latest iPhone, but you don't want it to be in a box and you don't want to have to mask out the white pixels and put it on your background. You want it to just be a transparent cutout so you can put it wherever you want and you don't have to worry about the background. Well, Over has a feature on Over Pro where you can Google search and just be like, give me all of the iPhone PNG transparents, and those give you all the different colors, all the different backgrounds to choose from. And if I didn't have Over Pro, I wouldn't have that feature. And I tried to turn it off for a while to see if I could just get by with free, and it was so annoying and it slowed down my workflow so much that I really thought about it and decided, you know what? Yep, I'm going to keep paying for Over Pro, probably because it doesn't even cost that much. It's only $50 a year, and it's billed through iTunes, and I have the Apple card, so I get 3% back on that. Ends up costing around $4 a month. So not that bad. And I use it for work, and of course counts as a write-off because I wouldn't be paying for it if I wasn't a YouTuber. Nick Answeeney made my intro, so I keep his name in the description of all the videos I use the intro for. He made that with Motion, which is like Apple's version of Adobe After Effects. He should do like a video about how he made it. I don't know if he has yet. I don't think he has, but he should. I think it'd be interesting. I pay for YouTube Premium to answer your question, Joseph. But it's kind of a funny story there. So I bought the YouTube Premium family plan back before they increased the prices on YouTube Premium. And I got grandfathered in with the legacy pricing, which means that I pay $14.99 a month for premium, but we decided to then rent out. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this. Is YouTube going to ban me for saying this? But I don't know. Hopefully not that many people are watching this. I get to rent out different people on the YouTube Premium plan. This is what a lot of my family and friends do. So basically, a few of my cousins, a few of my relatives, and a few of my, well, I was going to say friends, but then I realized, no, wait, their brother married my sister, so I guess we are family. A few of my in-laws have been like, can I get on your plan and I'll reimburse you for my piece of the plan? So YouTube Premium family supports 6 accounts. So me and Louise share one account now. We used to have 2, but then we realized you can have separate channels on one account. So for Louise's personal use, she just uses the Talos of Talks channel, and then I just use the Andrew Erickson personal account. There's no content on it, so you could look it up, I guess, but don't expect anything on. I just use it for watching videos and stuff. So we both share one account, and then we rent out 5 different people all of them pay $3 a month. So what does that add up to? 15. So basically, major stonks moment. This is a major thonk stonk treatment. We have 5 people paying $3 a month, and that's way cheaper than YouTube Premium individual. So they're all getting a great deal. You know, they if they wanted to pay for YouTube Premium by themselves, it would cost them, I think, like $12 a month. So they get it for a quarter of the price, and we get it for free. Basically, the 5 people on our plan cover the price of the entire service. So we have that labeled as red on here, as in, yes, we technically pay for it, but the income balances it out. So in hindsight, we wish we would have signed up for more, because we've actually had a few more friends and family since we've maxed out our YouTube Premium plan. A few more people have texted us and been like, hey, could I get on the premium plan? And we're like, we're sorry, it's all filled up. We don't have any more slots. And if we were to sign up for YouTube Premium Family now, it would be something like $18 a month. So it would cost more. But yeah, we're very grateful for the situation and how that has worked. We should have signed up for more. We should have signed up as a business and gotten like 15 different YouTube Premium accounts and then just rented them out to a bunch of different people. But yeah, so it's still cheaper than the college discount. Yeah, free. I'm on the YouTube Music Family plan. Only reason I don't use Apple Music. Yeah, it's pretty dang cheap. It's pretty affordable. So we've checked with everyone to make sure, like, are you sure you still want to be on the YouTube Premium plan? Like, we have a wait list, basically. We still have people that are like, let me know if there's a free slot on the premium plan. And we asked a few of my family members. We were like, hey, are you still using that? Or do you want to stop? You know, if you're not using it, just let us know. And they're like, no, I'm using it. I want to keep it. So we can't get anyone to get off it. But yes, so that answers your question. We still have YouTube Premium. I used to pay for Google Drive, but I canceled that as well. It used to cost me $2 a month. Got rid of that. And other than health insurance, which I don't know the exact, it's not listed here. It's through my wife's work, so she gets health insurance pretty affordably. That's about it. Last year it was like $10 a month, but to add me to it now it's like a couple $100 a month. So we get decent health coverage for around $200 a month, I think. So that basically sums up, I think, the whole budget. I can't think of anything else I've missed. Of course, there's variable expenses like tech products and like gifts and that kind of thing, or donations and that kind of thing. The things that change month to month. Rockford Media, thank you for the super chat. Says, can you take a look at your Insta after stream? Yes, I'm sorry. I haven't looked at my Insta in a long time. I keep all that stuff on my Android phone, not on my iPhone, so I forget to check it because my Android will just sit in the corner and then the battery dies on it. So I haven't checked it in a while, but I will. Thank you for the super chat. Okay, so now we're all caught up on the Talos of expenses. Don't need to do a video on it now. There's your numbers. Cell phone bill is also pretty much nothing because of all the referrals we have with Mint Mobile. So we referred a bunch of people with Mint Mobile, and now we don't really pay for phone service for the next couple of years. So yeah, I'm not paying anything for phone service this year. How much would you pay for Apple glasses, and would you ever consider the Apple Car if it matched Tesla in specs? Yeah, if it matched them in price, I probably wouldn't buy one because I'm not buying a Tesla right now. But it depends on what specs we're talking about. Range is not a major concern for me. I'm not like a big fan of Tesla because they have the best range. Honestly, if I were to get a Tesla, I would most likely get the weakest range possible because I don't go on great distance road trips. I just prefer the tech and autonomous driving features. So like if I had to buy a Tesla that was available and on the road today with my own money, I would get the standard range Model 3. I have no intentions on getting an all-wheel drive vehicle. I don't live in a snowy, icy climate. I don't need all-wheel drive. And I also don't drive great distances to where I would want to spend the extra money on long range. So I would get the cheapest range possible. So if that's the specs they're matching, I don't really care. At the end of the day, price would be the main issue. That's The main thing uh, that's so hard to justify about an EV. If Apple were making one that could match Tesla's prices, it just sounds so unrealistic. But if they did, maybe, I guess, if the software was pretty good, I would consider it. But I don't think that's going to happen. It seems very unlikely. Just as likely as Apple making an electric car that was like $10,000. I don't think it would happen. But if it did, then yeah, if they were cheaper than Tesla, I probably would consider it if the software was good. Um, how much would I pay for Apple glasses though? It depends what they did. If it was kind of like Google Glass and they didn't have any motion tracking or anything, and it was literally just like they put the time and the notification in the top corner of your eye, I don't really need that. I don't wear glasses anyway, and I'd probably not pay much more than a few $100 for that. But if they're as cool as they sound and they have like LiDAR and motion tracking and they can display content over your full vision and you can have 3D holograms in front of you and I can use them for work, like if I could add a second monitor to my desk just with Apple Glass and I could add a TV to a wall and just be like, boom, TV there, and notifications pop out from behind my devices. Like instead of getting a text that shows up and starts covering up the screen, imagine if the text would show up from behind the iPad and your volume indicator and stuff could show up from behind and the sides of the iPad instead of covering up the content on the display. So if they were really cool and they had all kinds of futuristic features like that, I could easily see myself dropping a couple grand. If they were $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000, maybe that would be pushing it. Probably 2,500 would be kind of my limit for even a futuristic pair of glasses like that. It's just a lot of money to drop on something that's probably going to be very fragile and probably easy to not use very often and not utilize it. So that's kind of the price range I'd be comfortable with, but it's a good chance it's not going to do all the cool things I think it could do. And if it ends up just being a notification delivery system, then yeah, maybe $1,000. Yeah, I could probably justify it for the channel and be like, well, Apple doesn't release a brand new product category like this all the time. So when they do, I better buy it and cover it and give my long-term reviews. So I didn't do that with AirPods Max, but that was because over-ear headphones aren't that really new. They're a very standard thing that's been around for a long time. So if they did come out this year, I could see myself probably dropping a couple grand and probably getting that back through the videos I make about them at least. Let's see. Bizarre ain't bad, but has a paywall for more tools as well. Ooh. Mike says, wondering how expensive Cybertruck will be compared to Y in terms of Tesla insurance. Yeah, I don't know. I can't tell. I feel like it could go either way. Cybertruck, like, on one hand, it's super tough and super durable. So, and there's no paint. So you'd think that there would be less insurance cost to worry about. But at the same time, if you do damage it and you dent the exoskeleton, won't that end up being really, really difficult to repair? Like, do you have to replace the entire exoskeleton in the event of a collision? That could maybe drive insurance costs up. So I don't know. I can't tell either. Graham Simmons says if you don't pay the sewer bill, it all comes back out of the toilet. Well, that'd be bad. I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to keep paying my sewer bill, as weird as that sounds. Sprig Fan says that's probably the most surprising expense you've mentioned today. Yeah, I brought that up in a few videos, and a lot of people are like, what? You pay for that? You pay for that? Yeah, there's some homeownership things that you don't think about when you either rent an apartment or rent a house. A lot of that stuff is just included in your rent. But when you own a house outright, there's a lot of little expenses like that. It's still worth it, though. Trust me. To do the math, doing the math on how cheap of rent you would have to find for the renting to make more sense than buying a house outright. At least where I live, I have not been able to find a situation here where it would make more sense to rent. Definitely not, especially if you consider the price of our house has gone up since we've bought it quite a bit. Actually, I was looking at the property value calculator websites, and I was like, oh wow, it's already gone up a lot since we bought the house. And so we're paying property tax, but the money, the value of the house has increased more so than we've paid in property taxes, which is kind of cool. Thank you, Marco.io. Thank you for the super chat. Just got my HomePod minis to have in stereo. Hype. That's cool. HomePod minis are solid. That's gonna be quite the setup. Congratulations. Impendio says, I imagine they could be in the $500 to $1,000 range rather than the $1,000 to $2,500 range. But then again, it's Apple we are talking about. I could get the glasses just because I already use prescription glasses, though. A lot of the time Apple enters a field, they end up costing more than people think. That's what I try to remind people every time, and everyone's like, no, they'll be reasonably priced. They'll be affordable. But then things like the AirPods Max happen, and then things like the Pro display happen. Literally no one. I was covering for years. I remember the day that leak rumor dropped because Craig Federighi and Phil Schiller were talking to someone in a podcast or in an interview about them going back to a modular Mac Pro and making a standalone monitor. And everyone was like, yay, they're going back to the standalone monitor game. No one predicted it would cost $5,000. Literally, no one was saying that. Everyone was like, probably between $1,500 and $2,500. And then they're like, boom, $5,000 monitor, and it doesn't even come with a stand. The stand's $1,000. That happens when they know that they're in a field that they have free reign over. And especially when it comes to Apple Glass, making their own augmented reality glasses, they definitely, barely anybody's in that field right now. So if they became the sole, serious entry to that, and no one else was really making augmented reality glasses that Apple could, they can kind of charge whatever they want. They get to decide what the value is. You yourself might be like, well, $2,000, that's not worth it. I couldn't justify that. It's like, yeah, you can't justify that, but that's what it's costing because there's no way to get that cheaper. So Apple's going to decide what the value of something is, and maybe down the road they find ways of making it cheaper. But at least right now, when it comes to motion tracking, 3D projecting, hologram technology that you can wear on your face, it's not very cheap. The closest thing to that is like the HoloLens, and that's big and bulky and $3,000. So the idea of making it thin and light and natural looking and making it fit on your face, but doing all the same things, yeah, it's going to be expensive. So I'd be very shocked if they got it under $1,000. Randy says, I think Cybertruck will be more costly with insurance. Probably. Most pickup trucks are more expensive to insure anyway. That's what Mike was telling me, at least. He has a Ram pickup, and he said that costs more to insure than the Model Y does. But yeah, probably expect insurance to be high. On the other hand, though, you don't have to worry about the paint chipping or the car denting as easily as all our previous Teslas. So maybe the number of claims you'd have to file would be a lot less. What is your goal for your channel in terms of growth of subscribers? Also, if the Tailosive network grows and becomes a big success, which I hope it will you be employing people? I have employed people in the past. Never could really get a good groove going with that. It was always short term. It was never very long term. And the thing is, I can't justify the expense really right now when I can edit so quickly myself. And internet wise, especially with the types of video file formats we're shooting with, it would just slow everything down to have to upload footage and send it to someone else. The alternative is doing everything in person, which is, I think, even more expensive because then you would have to have like an office space, which tried that, very expensive. Like Video Awesome is saying, rent goes down the drain, money in a house does not, because you can sell it and get your money out of it. Exactly. It's gone up a lot already. So I don't know. I mean, I don't have a lot of plans for growth, honestly. We talked about it in the last talk stream. The channel's not growing very much, to be honest. I don't know what's wrong, or if even anything is wrong, but I'm trying to focus on just making content I like and make content that I feel is right. This is a video that I'm proud of, that I can edit and say, yes, I believe everything I said in it, and I'm proud of the way the thumbnail is and the way the title is. And there's probably, I'm sure, other channels that are growing a lot faster, especially in the tech community, but they all have to do things that I don't want to do myself. They all have to either, whether it be a sponsorship, whether it be a clickbait, whether it be a title and catering to a more global audience and that kind of thing. And I don't want to do that. I'm not all about just like, I need more subs, because I'm paid enough and I'm happy with what I make. But yeah, when I stop looking at the numbers and when I stop focusing on analytics and just focus on making the content that I want to see, I noticed channel doesn't grow very much because I'm not looking at the views and being like, oh, that gets a lot of views, I need to make more of that. Instead, I'm saying I want to make videos about things that are interesting to me and focus on that and not really care about how the channel performs. But you'll see results where you put your focus in, I think. And I have not put much focus into making sure I get a bunch of views and making sure I gain a lot in subscribers. So Tech Channel is really not doing very well growth wise. Um, viewership wise and stuff, it's definitely always a bit slower in January. But it's difficult. Sometimes you look at the analytics and you see like, oh, okay, people are unsubscribing. I'm not getting that many subs as I used to. Videos aren't getting as many views as they used to. What's wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? What's the issue? And sometimes it's like you can do your best and have it not be enough, you know. But that's really, of course, the best you can do. You can really do your best and hope for the best. And it's still not enough for some people, you know. Sometimes you got to accept or realize that, okay, maybe this is what I got and I'm going to make the most of what I have. And I think that's the approach I'm taking with 2021 is just being grateful for the audience and the channels that I do have. And I'm not going to look at things. I'll be like, oh, we're failing. Oh, I'm in trouble because there's not more people subscribing. It's like, we'll be fine. Our expenses, as I listed to you in the stream, are pretty low, and we can comfortably afford to pay everything and invest our savings and have that money reinvest itself with more dividends and have that money grow and that kind of thing. So that can all still happen with my current income. So I'm happy with it. And I don't know. I don't want the money and I don't want channel growth and clicks to be the driving force, because I don't think we need more channels that are just focused on getting more people to click the like button and more people to subscribe. And there's a lot of that on YouTube already. There's a lot of people that are just like, I have to make the most clickbaity thumbnail, the most clickbaity title to get people to watch my video. And it doesn't matter how wrong it is, doesn't matter how disingenuous it is. Or sometimes I'm going to say things or believe things in the video that I don't actually believe or I don't actually endorse, but I need people to watch me. So I'm going to start being fake so I can get more clicks. I don't want to do that because I feel like there's enough of that on YouTube anyway. So I'm perfectly happy being a smaller channel that doesn't grow, that doesn't get a ton of views, as long as I'm being true to myself and I can be proud of the content I'm producing in the first place. So that's my priority. If it all crashes and burns and my income drops to zero, so be it. At least I stayed true to myself. That's what matters. So that's where my focus is. Don't have much plans for growth. I don't know what to do for growth. I mean, people always say, set a goal. I want to get this many subscribers. Okay, how are you going to do that? Make compelling, good video. Well, just do that anyway. You know, you should be making good, compelling videos for the sake of you want to make those, not because I want to see this number or this follower count or this subscriber count reach a certain amount. So sorry, I don't have a lot of great advice for people who maybe want to grow their channel because I can't grow mine. So I probably shouldn't be an expert. I grew it at one time, but that was a different world. You know, the tech community was different back then, and there were different leaks and different rumors that I was capitalizing on, and don't have those now. They're in a different world now. So I'm okay if the channel shrinks and dies. Let me throw that out there. Let's see. Waiting on my first Apple Watch, so I want to see how that goes. Oh, good. Let me know how that goes. I hope you like your first Apple Watch. Interesting to see people get them today and they haven't tried them ever before. I don't know much about Floatplane. I know Linus Tech Tips either founded it or started it or runs it, but I have a feeling that the Linus Tech Tips community would not appreciate an Apple sheep on the platform very much. No, I don't have CBS All Access, and isn't that going to become Paramount Plus or whatever? So no, I have not watched those. Sorry. Yeah, like Randy says, as long as you're satisfied, that's the real growth. Yeah, exactly. That's what ultimately matters at the end of the day, I think, is making what you want to see. And maybe what you want to see isn't what other people want to see, you know? That's a truth a lot of people I think need to realize. You know, sometimes the crappier channel with the suckier content will do much better than you. It's truth. I see it all the time. I mean, honestly, like the channels that cater to the lowest common denominator usually are not very interesting. There's a few exceptions, you know. I like PewDiePie and I like Mr. Beast as a person, but I don't really love the content very much. The content's not super entertaining to me. But it's all in good spirit. Like I love how he's donating to people, and that's great. But the challenges or the do this to win $1 million and stuff. It's I don't know. I don't watch much of that. I don't watch challenge videos really. They're not very entertaining to me. But if you look at any channel above 40 million subscribers on YouTube, you'll notice a lot of crap. There's a lot of these like basic weird channels that are trying to cater towards kids and make these weird bizarre. You're like, how did these get millions of views? I don't get it. It's like, well, is that success really, that they're making these 5-minute craft videos where it's like cut holes in your pants and put it on your head? Wow, 8 million views. Is that what you want to do? At the end of the day, there will always be numbers or someone with more than you. You know, there's always going to be some channel with more subs or more views. So eventually you have to kind of take a step back and realize what really matters to me. What's the actual like most important thing with content production? Is it getting the most views? Is it growing? Or is it, you know, making content you're proud of? So hopefully there's a little middle ground there, because it's very hard to make YouTube a full-time job or make it a living if you never cared about views, because then you would make no money. So then you wouldn't be able to make much content. You need to make some stuff. You know, it can't be nothing, because if you don't make any money, then you got to spend your life or spend 30 to 40 hours a week working some other job that you're not passionate about and just do YouTube on the side, which I don't want to go back to. I would like to keep doing YouTube full time, but yeah, it's tough. It's a tough balance. Charlie Michael says, do you have any thoughts on Apple allegedly lobbying to water down legislation against companies using slave labor in their supply chains? Yeah, I think that's bad. It's a terrible thing. And I've also been very outspoken in the past few Twitch streams that I wish Apple would start being more vertically integrated with their production. I wish they would build and buy their own factories that they could run and operate like Samsung, and make sure that that kind of stuff does not happen. I don't know much about the lobbying thing. I don't know who's causing that or who at Apple endorses that, but I don't want it to happen. I'm against that, for the record. But sadly, it's a fairly common thing in a lot of the tech industry. Let's see. The fact that you're focused on your content and your own genuine opinions more than the attention via subs makes you unique, and that's why you have my subscription since your Attic days. Thank you, Yoris. I appreciate that. I'm trying to be grateful and appreciative of just the following I have, you know, because honestly, the tech channel, like, it doesn't need more subscribers. That's not what it needs. I think it needs more engaged audience, because how many people are subscribed? It's like 239,000. And when was the last time I got 239,000 views on a video? Might have been like a year ago. No, I can't remember. It's been a long time since we've even gotten that many views on a video. So it means that if the average videos are getting between 20 or 30,000 views, that means there's a huge number of people subscribed that are not watching for any number of reasons that are completely justified. Some people just get tired of the same stuff. You know, I try to stay consistent, and I try to not abandon the channel, and I try to have new and interesting subjects each day. But some people can just get sick of that, and I totally get it. There's a ton of YouTube channels I've stopped watching over the years that didn't really do anything wrong. It's not like they started doing something I didn't care about. I was just like, yeah, I'm kind of interested in other stuff now, and I don't really want to keep watching that anymore. That happens. And do you have to go crazy? Do you have to do something drastically different to win those people back? I mean, not always, maybe, but I don't know. I haven't thought or made the discovery of something like, well, this is what would make the tech videos way better, and then way more people would subscribe and watch. I haven't found that yet. Maybe there's something I haven't tapped into quite yet, but I feel like I like the format I'm going with right now of in like making the videos idea based. Here's my thoughts on this or my speculative opinion on this, and also sprinkle in some humor here and there. Some people like the humor, some people don't, so it's kind of a difficult balance, you know. Some people love it when I get all embracing the memes and whatnot, and some people don't like that. Some people are like, can you just stick to the tech stuff? And some people want things to be very like dry, no comedy, no humor, just be very stale. And sometimes the videos that aren't very comedic do really really well. It's like people just wanted the information and your thoughts on it, and don't overcomplicate it. But I try to find that delicate balance, but you can't make everybody happy. You can like the humor, you can be wrong. Yeah. Marco Dot says, "How can some people edit while listening to music? And any advice to concentrate while editing videos?" Mm, yeah, I don't know how people can listen to music and edit. I don't know. That's a tough one. I can, if I'm not playing back the videos, so, you know, when I'm just doing the jump cuts, it's pretty easy. But yeah, I don't know how they do that. Well, I appreciate the super chats and I appreciate you guys watching. I'm gonna get going now, but thank you for all tuning in. Got some more vlogs in the works, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Take care, all. Bye bye.